Let's talk about creating safe spaces in Castro.
Did somebody say recovery?
Let's talk about meetings, sex and recovery.
Sober sex? Did somebody say dick?
Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about... Welcome. You are at the CCC,
where there are no outside issues, with Bonnie Violet
and Lulu.
Each week, we will provide and create a brave space where we engage in conversations around topics of recovery.
And our intention is to inspire better spaces for more people in recovery
by tackling topics used to separate us.
But before we do that, please like, share, add, do whatever you do.
Share.
Exactly.
Tell your friends.
How's it going? Hey, you probably noticed that we have someone in between us. Who is this?
I'm Dominick. I'm an addict and alcoholic.
All right. You're in the hot seat.
I am.
He's in a hot seat. Yeah, we decided we want to have our conversation. We want to have somebody join us and give their unique perspective.
Oh, unique.
You want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we shut you up? No.
First, Lewis gave me the keys to his house.
Oh,
yes.
You know what that means.
All right.
I'm Dominick. I'm an addict and alcoholic. I've been sober for a little over 4.5 years. I live in Oakland. I am connected with the Oakland and San Francisco fellowships, and I am not an expert on any of this.
Yeah, that's the same with all of us.
Right.
We're not. I'm not an ambassador.
Yes, we're all just here sharing our shit.
So how was our week, huh?
Mine's been busy. Finals and school and work, and I just presented my project that I've been working on to my school this afternoon, which was amazing. But it's been good. And coming to finals,
if you do so, say so yourself, huh? Yeah. It was amazing.
I thought it was, and I've been really enjoying the process of it. Yeah,
awesome. I've been super busy as well. I went from having like no work to having like a bunch of work with Pride Month coming up next month. I booked like a whole bunch of gigs, so I'm super excited and working on booking folks and creating all the graphics. So it's been great.
Nice. Right on. And for me, honestly, things, this morning I was skipping to a meeting earlier today, and I was thinking I'm in a good place now because before, like, I moved, and I don't know that it completely has to do with that I moved, but you know how when you're like, I'll be fine when this is done and this is done, or this is in place and this is in place. And I didn't have that. I haven't had that feeling, like I'm I'm living now, and it's good. But I am also super excited because I'm decorating, creating my space in my new apartment. So that's cool.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exciting for you.
I know this one's an artist. It's like, if you don't know Dominick and his photography and his art, I'm going to have him help me kind of figure out what I need to do to just take my space to the moon. How about that?
Yeah.
You'll come home and there'll just be art all over your house. It'll be all decorated.
It's going to be like naked pictures. That's hot.
There's going to be a lot of those. Yeah.
All right. Now
it's a tradition for me when I house it for people. I take nudes in their house.
Oh, okay.
Property value goes up.
I know. Exactly.
So hit me up if you want me to watch a house.
Right, right on. So our topic today, so our topic today is like romance, relationships, and finding your tribe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that if you haven't participated in like a podcast, I think sometimes, even though you have tons to say, you probably think, oh God, I'm going to, we're going to talk about this one topic and then fizzle. So finding a bunch, stringing together some topics that are kind of related. And I thought about these two. So I always tell people, like, when they show up, based on lessons that I've learned, find your tribe of people. No matter what it's about, no matter what type of recovery, when you find like-minded people to connect with, it kind of helps you, especially early on in whatever journey you're on. Like, for me coming in, I had to Like, obviously, if I was perfect, I wouldn't be here. You motherfuckers wouldn't see me. But I needed people who are going to just release me to be, because we were all kind of going through it together. And so that's when I think of tribe, I think about that. How about you guys?
I think the same thing too. Like, it has been important for me to find my tribe and find my community and make those relationships with these people. And like, in doing that, I've been able to foster relationships outside that more healthily in a healthier way. So it's been very important for me to find my tribe, find my community, find my circle, and work on those relationships.
Yeah, and I think I've spent most of my life trying to find my tribe, you know, in one way or another, and not really feeling like I was in a tribe. And I think one of the things that I have to do oftentimes is just change my point of view, because oftentimes I do have a tribe of people all around me, and I just often choose not to like be a part of. You know, there might be like one little thing that's different, and so that's anything I can use to like kind of take me away from my tribe. So it's been really important though for me to have folks to go through different things in my life, whether it was, you know, recovery, or was it when I first had HIV and dealing with that, and just, you know, having people who are on a similar like path as you, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's important that you mentioned, because I think you can have multiple tribes. You can multiple layers of, you know, you can call them tribes, you can call it trusted support or whatever. But and the other thing is that because we change and we grow, what the people that we're around to change and we grow. And I think it's our responsibility to kind of be able to kind of say, okay, you know, this season has passed, and it's not a bad thing. Like, early on, when I was really super messy about it, I would have to be all dramatic and make a big stage production and tell you ain't a part of my life no more. and send you. But now, you know, it's not about somebody being good or bad or whatever. It's about like, this is what I need. This is what I don't need. And out of love for myself, and possibly like love and respect for that other individual, I'm going to be honest and move on, because that can keep you from moving forward when you surround yourself with people who kind of aren't moving in that, you know, the same direction or a direction.
Yeah. And so this quarter I'm taking a photography class, and my professor is big on philosophy and theory. And he is like harboring in on like, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who are more creative with you or than you, because if you are the smartest and the most creative person within your circle, then you're not going to grow. And so it's about finding people who are outside of your circle and bringing them to your circle and having them influence you in the most positive ways. And also just like, in that tribe, being that leader for yourself to make those connections and make those relations with people, and also to also be humble to where like, in those dynamics, you were not the leader, you were just the co-host. Like, this is right here. But
Absolutely.
It's important to like make those initiatives and make those relationships, because they're just not going to happen on your own.
Right. And I think don't be afraid to reach for the high shelf or like the top shelf when it comes to like developing your pride or your tribe as well too. I think there were a lot of times, again, just like I'm like sharing all my stuff, but like where like I just didn't think I was good enough for certain groups of people. And so that kept me from connecting with people that I really looked up to and really were living life in a way that I really wanted to. And, you know, like recently I was able to pick a new sponsor, and I reached for the top shelf with that one. And that's not to say anything bad about any of my previous ones, but I really, you know, reached to somebody that I really, I just really looked up to in a lot of ways.
I really liked how you worded that, reaching for the top shelf, because I'm all not going to not as opposed to not going to the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
Well, it's hard. I mean, when you come in, you only know like the lessons that we had to learn in early recovery or in recovery that we continue to have to learn. These are ongoing, and who I was before, I don't automatically stop being that person just because I stopped drinking or using drugs or whatever. And so it's hard. Obviously, in finding the people that I want to be around, or what, you know, when I said earlier, like finding people who reach, you know, who are moving in the same direction, that direction may be right out the door. But I guess it's like that combined with doing work is like super cool.
Yeah, I think the relationships that I've been able to have pushed me further in developing myself more. And when I was asked to be part of this, it was relationships and finding your tribe. I'm like, I've never been in a romantic relationship. I have nothing to talk about. And I thought about it some more. Like, I've had intimate relationships with sexual partners and also intimate relationships with like friends and family. And like those all apply.
Absolutely.
And like these intimate relationships have been able to help me understand myself more, despite all the challenges and all the difficulties that have come with it.
Right. Yeah. We're in relationships with so many people. I was like feeling that way. Like I haven't been talking with my parents for a while. And so like, I feel like, oh, I'm not in a relationship with my parents. I'm like, well, actually you not talking to your parents is the relationship you have with your parents.
Absolutely.
You know? So I still have a relationship with them. I'm just acting a little differently than I have in the past.
Yeah. And like, kind of like the spiritual basis for me is that I have a relationship with everybody and I have a connection with everybody that I meet and that I come across, and also those that I haven't met yet. And also looking at people from that perspective, that I have a relationship and that I have a connection with them, helps me deal or treat with them or interact with them in a more positive way. Whether that means if not interacting with them at all because I may not really like them.
Exactly. I'm always like
my way of positively and interacting with them nicely is by not engaging with them at all, because if I have nothing nice to say, then I shouldn't say anything bad at all.
Or come sit next to me.
And then me and Luz can talk all this shit.
I know, exactly. Okay, but only in a loving way. You know what? I think the most important relationship, like for me, I can only speak for myself, is the relationship that I have with me. Like, I think that a lot of the important work that anyone does, like therapy or whatever, is kind of figuring out what's been making me tick from this point. I mean, because usually, you know how they say, it's like, if I'm having issue with someone else outside of me, it usually is probably something that I am not dealing with. And if I come to terms with it, or if I start to get a better understanding of who I am and how I operate, because like I'm a Virgo, and
I knew you were gonna say that.
I always blame it on being a Virgo.
To say it at least once.
I know I always blame it on being a Virgo, but you know what? I realize, and it is not a bad thing to say, but I realize that sometimes that can be a little difficult. I mean, I love the friends and people that I love immensely or whatever, especially once they kind of get to know me, but you got to get to know me. And if my personality is shit, or if you perceive that or whatever, there's no way we're going to get past that stumbling block. So I have been able, through doing work and through surrounding myself with people who don't have any problems saying, hey, that was not cool, or that didn't make sense, or really kind of showing me through their actions that by setting boundaries, I've been able to stop certain behaviors and open up my world to other people.
Yeah. And I think that the relationship that I have with myself is the relationship that I have with other people. Like, although I can like have one relationship with myself and put up a facade and have this other relationship with other people that I interact with, like deep down, the relationship that I have with myself is how I'm going to treat other people. And like through doing the work, and the work for me has been step work and sponsorship and other recovery related work that I've been able to work on myself. And I noticed that there was a switch in the narrative that I had in my head maybe 3.5 years ago, where it was like a week that I had reflected on where I didn't talk shit about myself. And like that was the turning point for me, that I was able to start fostering a better relationship with Dominick, with myself, and to not be such a shithead to myself, in turn being a shithead to everybody else too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we just tell ourselves over and over. I know I resigned to kind of just being, oh, I'm just not disciplined, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. And kind of that kept me from doing some of the things that I could have benefited from, And so, I don't know, I did hit a point too where I was like, you know what, that might have been who I was, but that doesn't mean I can't be different. And to kind of push myself again, I guess it's that top shelf again.
Yeah, reaching that top shelf, especially if you're wearing something that'll. Hey, so if you're listening to now, if you're watching now, and you have any thoughts about this, please don't hesitate to ask. Brandon's waiting for you to he's waiting back there for something to do.
All
DJ Wasabi Nuts.
Yeah, somebody was mentioning Al-Anon or like Coda. And I think for me too, you can't, it's, with our relationship with ourselves, I didn't do well in other relationships until I started having a better relationship with myself. And as a codependent Al-Anon, like it was really difficult for me to really, be in relationship with people well, because I really had a hard time being honest, because I was afraid that, I would lose them, or, whatever. And I just was so unaware and aware that that's the way I was acting the whole time. But there was a time I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. And like going back to those narratives that like you told yourself and that I told myself as well, like those were true at some point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just like with drugs, they were not working anymore. But there was also a process to them. Like those are that's the narrative that I had for myself because it was true during those circumstances, during those times. But then in having those and learning that those don't fit myself anymore because I am developing, I've been able to use that narrative that I told myself to kind of grow out of them and tell myself differently. And I mean, I don't parade myself with good qualities and I'm this and I'm that, but I'm not telling myself that I'm a piece of shit or I'm lesser or anything. It's kind of just like, there's nothing there right now. Maybe those more positive attributes will come on. And I think they do come on when I start like kind of hunkering on myself, but they're not as like automatic as the negative ones were before.
Exactly. And I think that's the reason why, like, surrounding yourself. I mean, because I don't know about you, but I need people.
Mm-hmm.
But it is important that, like, if I'm around people that are negative or that are like self-loathing, that have stuff going on, and it's, don't get me wrong, it's not their responsibility to make me better. But what I'm saying is, like, I always say, like, I want God's voice to be the louder voice in my head, and so. But if that voice is not loud enough and to guide me, or if I'm not listening to it and I'm only listening to the voices around me, then it makes a world of difference who I'm surrounding myself with.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, like, I'm all right back on the tribe. And the cool thing about it is, it's like, there's so many amazing people if you open yourself up and you open to them that are moving in their direction, but like, I always said, it's like, I want to surround myself with people who are ambitious, or at least people who, like, validate that, how we have friends who dream big. I dream big. It's like all these get rich quick schemes. But if you have somebody who's always going to shoot you down,
bye.
It makes it hard, because it's like, they may be right in that you should calm down. But sometimes you tell somebody, hey, no, and you say no long enough, they start to believe it, and that kills their spirit. And I'm about, like, I want to lift people up. I don't want to tear them down. And in turn, I want to be around people who are able to kind of lift. Or if you can't lift, at least stay the hell out of my way.
Right.
And I think it was important for me to understand that, like, the long-lasting relationships that I had with people who, not like in the least selfish way, who were not serving me in becoming part of my tribe and uplifting me. Like, it was, and it continues to be okay for me to let these people go and to not, like, have bad blood or have resentment against these people, but to part ways because we are obviously going in different directions. And I prefer to surround myself with people who are going to challenge me and uplift me at the same time, instead of just kiki and talk shit.
Exactly. No, but there's room for some of that.
Of course. And, like, to have people that you can kiki, talk shit, who
absolutely,
will also uplift you,
who get it,
challenge you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like having that balance there. It's like, because I don't think I would have done well if I only surrounded myself with people who were just on a straight and narrow completely, and vice versa, people who were completely on an all pepper diet. You like how I make my voice deep? It's right.
All pepper.
Yeah, no, I needed that balance, because we're a little bit of all of it. I don't want to lose that kind of fire or spark or je ne sais quoi.
But then it just doesn't work when that's the only quality that is in that relationship.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And so what we do is we culture and we cultivate each other's, like, just like we're doing now. It's like, I mention something, I talk about something, and it allows you to kind of, like, and we feed off of one another like that.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, it's easy to kind of maybe pull away from a relationship if it isn't quite working. But I know sometimes it's been helpful for me, if there's a relationship that I really want to still be in, I can let that person know. I can think of somebody who is a drag friend, and, drag friends, they kind of kiki and say, girl, you're busted, and this person wanted to say that to me. And I was like, I can't take that. Like, that's, like, for whatever reason, yes, that's my issue, but I need to let you know that I'm not, like, that's not cute for me.
Exactly.
So, and I value our relationship, but I just, you doing that, I can't. And I also have to remind myself when I ask for it too, because I was like, girl, you asked her what she thought. So
Yeah. No, but you're so right. It's like, I think that you number one, it's a good thing to advocate for yourself, to ask for it. And if a person is not able to respond in the way that is good for you, then that informs how you move forward.
Yeah.
And that's where when it's completely up to us. It's like, okay, I have asked you many times to say my name with the correct spelling,
Right.
and you refuse. And so, no.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
not like you just like completely depart from the relationship when it becomes too much. It's like I tried to foster them in a more positive and more respectful manner, and sometimes, and most of the times, it just does not work out in the best interest of either of us. And so I think, like, and also in your case, and I don't know if you might have tried this already, but like, hey, when you give feedback, can you kind of be a little bit more sensitive because of like how I internalize what is being said to me? Like those are challenges to work through with relationships that we already have.
Yeah, I apologize for calling you busted.
Yeah. No, and it's like,
It was you.
I know.
well, and the thing that's really cool is that like in this particular relationship, I was able to draw that line. They were able to be respectful of it. Like I said, sometimes I'll ask them my opinion and I'll get it. But then also they have been probably one of the most supportive people for me, because they know that about me. They know that I can be whatever, bothered or hurt by other things. And I think that's the other thing that I want to say too, is like, your shit, it's okay to kind of own it. I know, like for me, like I used to think like, oh, because it's my shit, I then have to kind of stay in a relationship that's not quite working. And like, because it's my shit, but my shit is a part of me in the way that I am right now. And if I can't kind of bring that to the table, then I don't know. I think it's an interesting balance, but you have to find a way to kind of help somebody hold that with you without making it about you either,
Yeah. And I've also been working on my approach to the friends and family that I have in my life. Because I could be rather like blunt and straightforward. And even more so with friends, especially when it comes around like when they're like venting and telling me their issues and stuff like I am someone who's like, okay, well, let's find a solution and let's get to it. And
yeah, you're really good at that, and it's annoying.
I appreciate it.
And like I've been learning how to still use that direction, but in a more leveled way. Like these are the levels that we need to take to get to those solutions, instead of being like, well, you just need to do something different. And that's a bad example, but usually I'm just like, here's a solution, you should do that. And sometimes I should just allow people to vent their space and allow that to happen, and then read it and see if it's appropriate for me to kind of move in the direction of, well, let's find something else to do so that we can better ourselves.
And that I think is the beautiful thing when you have a friend who is not afraid, or not is not. I would say I want friends who are not afraid to possibly alienate me by telling me the truth. It might be a truth, or at least bringing it up, because if you just kind of, it's kind of like that dress is ugly on you, or that's not your style, or maybe that's too tight and you are worried about offending me, so you don't put me aside. But we've been cultivating this friendship. Right. I need you to tell me the truth, because if I'm in a delusion, I need somebody. I need somebody to bring me out. Hey, you notice something? I think that we might not be able to get to romance until the three of us are in a better place with it. Right. I threw that on there because I mean it sounded cute. It was a bunch of R's.
Right. We thought more people would want to come to it. Right.
Well, I mean, like in the ideas of like romantic relationships, I've had a few where I was interested in someone, and I've had 3 that I was interested in. There was one who it appeared that he was more interested in me, and I did not feel the same way. And I think the best way to depart from that is just to completely let go, because I wasn't sure about the direction of where I was at versus he was. I didn't ghost him. Like we had a really good conversation we had a conversation. I was like, I think that this cannot be reciprocated by me at this time. And he asked me to leave his home, and I was like, yeah, sure. And we didn't talk for a couple months, and then we kind of came back and kind of made plans to hang out again and just catch up and stuff, but that never happened.
That's such a good way to approach it. I learned it the wrong way so many times. I recall just like people, I'd be like, get into a new relationship and I say, I'm going to hurt you. Like, this is like, you don't want to be with me, like all this kind of stuff. And then we would get but we'd get together anyway, and
Help me.
then I would hurt them, and I would be hurt, and you know, and it was like, okay, but just because you told them, girl, doesn't mean you need to like go through it, you know?
Yeah. So when you say
I don't do that anymore, by the way.
Exactly. I hope so. I hope so, because I was gonna say when you
That was
say
like
ahead
a
of time, that's like
ago.
that's like prophecy. It's like I know the future. I'm Miss Cleo.
A lot of things happen in a year.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't been in a romance in a really long time.
You know, honestly, it's like I think I'm gonna probably say this and reiterate it every episode.
That you're a Virgo?
I get my intimacy from my friends, from you guys. I get to be honest and deep and go deep with you guys, and then I get the sex I need from Parks and Recreation.
Is that you on Sniffies?
Right.
Exactly, with White Sox and a happy to see you.
Yeah, well, I think there is something in that, though. Like, I think our friends and our tribe can begin to help us be better partners with people that we fall in love with at some point, because we learn how to talk to people. And we might not, you know, we're probably not having sex with all of our friends, but, you know, we are learning how to communicate and how to draw boundaries and how to hold space and, you know, things like that for other people. So I think that's something you can bring in. And Troy was saying that he had to learn to romance, or he said, I had to learn to romance myself. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Buy yourself flowers, Troy. I know you've been doing that. I've been doing that for myself too.
I
Just
love
like,
that. I love that.
only when others are looking.
Is that Trixie? Is that Trixie? Oh, I love you, Trixie. No, I think I want. I'm so bad. I want to find just the right vase, because I'm trying to find pieces that really speak to me, that I bring into my place. That I'm also, it needs to be sexy or whatever. Right. But I'm going to do that. Although I do have issues of allergies towards pollen.
Yeah, I mean, like the way that I started out was just putting it in a glass cup, and then like over the next couple of weeks, someone gave me a vase, and on Valentine's Day, someone sent me like this big ass bouquet of flowers, and it's like this huge vase, and I've been using that too. Nice. And that was a turning point for me. That this one of my sexual partners sent me a really nice bouquet of flowers for Valentine's Day, because it reinforced that I am lovable and that I am appreciated, despite this relationship that I have with him it's intimate and sexual, but I think we both understand that it's not going to move in that direction. Mm-hmm. Because I've had imaginary romantic relationships with two other people that I thought were going to go somewhere, but because I didn't communicate how I felt at the time that I thought was appropriate, that made me not do it later on in the other times. And so that's something that I learned, is that if I want to voice myself and I want something from myself, then I need to voice it and communicate it at the time that I feel that I need to voice it and communicate it, instead of after the fact when it has ended.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember having a friend, he would say, I have a boyfriend, or blah, blah. I was like, does he know he's your boyfriend?
Exactly. And then there's this whole thing around stalking, like, how did you get in my house? And
what? Because you gave me your keys.
Exactly. No.
Troy says, I feel like everyone has a different definition of what love is. So I try to communicate my loved ones how I feel they need to be loved. And there's a book on the language of love, and we all receive love and share love in a lot of different ways. And I think we do well when we get to know that. I love getting gifts, but I am the worst gift giver. You know, like I love when somebody writes a card or sends me a little note. Like, I think that's the coolest thing, but me to do that for someone else, it really takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. I think I am the opposite. Like, I love giving gifts to people, but I don't really like receiving gifts, because it just makes me feel weird. And so,
well, it's selfish if you don't. It's like I learned the hard way. It's like, you know how we have friends or whatever, and you might be that person that listens all the time and is always there to support. Well, we have to be a service to other people, and sometimes we have to let them help us and let them love us.
Right.
And that's how you change and alter the DNA of the relationship.
And more of like thoughtful gifts, not like obligatory, it's your birthday, but more of like, you know, I saw this, I thought of you.
Absolutely.
You know, and I do that sort of stuff for people too. But
exactly. And it doesn't have to be something on the specific day or whatever. There's sometimes, like, actually, I do this fun thing. My friends, I buy frames, and I take pictures from Facebook, and I put my pictures of us in them, and that's mainly so that I can be in your house. But no, I love. I also can't keep surprises, because it's like I like the look on a person's face when you give them something and thought was put into it.
Yeah. Like recently, I gifted a friend who had just came out of rehab and it was his birthday, and I gave him 3 books that were like spiritual based
and a pack of cigarettes.
that were based in spirituality that have helped me in my recovery. So be able to pass on that knowledge and be intentional about the kind of gifts that I give people.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I remember I gave my sponsor this tie-dye shirt making gift like 3 years ago because he and the partner that he had at the time were making tie-dye shirts. And so like, being intentional and giving people that I know, giving people gifts that I know that they will enjoy and that speak to them.
One of the things that we talked a lot about, like finding your tribe, is being like people like you or people that are living life in a certain way. And what I think as I've gotten a little bit further along, maybe I've been actually really excited about having different people, like people who are different from me in my tribe. You know, and it has taken a little bit of skill and a little bit of like personal awareness. But I've really benefited from being able to be in a tribe with people who are different from me. And so, but I do feel like that's like for me, it was definitely advanced level as far as like being in relationships. You know, I really had to learn how to be in relationship with people more like myself so that I could begin to, you know, just be better with anyone or most people or more people.
Like what Billy just said, letting people love you is awkward. And I think that also relates to me giving gifts and not liking people give me gifts. And it's coming from a selfish standpoint. And it's the same thing with letting people love me, because I have so much love to give and I can offer it to anybody, but I'm like, I don't want any of it. And I think that comes from a selfish standpoint that like, it's almost like control as well.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I want to control the way that people perceive me, and I want to control the kind of things that I can give people, but I don't want them to contribute to that.
Right.
It's also kind of a manipulation because it's like, I don't want it from you. I used to joke and say, well, if you can't get me a car, I don't want it. You know, and the reality of it is like whatever I give you, even if I find a dead flower and and I hand it to you, it is what I was thinking that is, you know, I wouldn't give you a dead flower because that just would be hateful.
Yes.
And so I think, I'm learning to accept gifts from people. Although no one has sent me any gifts, so if you want to send me a gift,
hey,
the
fact that I say hi to you every time is a gift.
Know,
okay,
right?
That's gift enough.
I think you can't, you know, there's that saying, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. You know?
Absolutely.
And that's more than just with STDs. I think it's hard to accept love when you.
If you don't know the joy of the feeling of getting something that somebody like put a lot of thought into, I mean, that like feeling that, knowing how you feel and you want to give somebody that same kind of feeling, that's what it comes down to. Because when I receive something like that was a total surprise and I'm not expecting it, it gets me like it. Yeah. And then I run to my closet and say, oh no, here, I got something for you too. Because I want you to feel that now.
Yeah. What about intimacy?
Oh, you know what? That's a gift. That's a gift when somebody, and mind you, when I first meet you, I do not want to know your whole story. I think that it's what we build up to from this point. It's something we worked on. It's sacred. It's sacred to us. And I think that we give it to people when the time is right, because not everybody can appreciate what you give them. This is my stuff, and I'm not going to let anybody kind of like shit over my stuff, lack of better word. But when you get to know somebody and they come to you and are able to share what's closest to their heart, and you know, maybe they just want to share and maybe want to get it off their chest, or they even ask you for your thoughts. I mean, that's amazing. Like, because I don't know about you guys, there was a time where like if I didn't have drugs or alcohol, the person didn't really want to know what I was thinking. And even then, not so much, just keep pouring.
And just like with going back to our tribe, like the relations that I have with people is a gift. Like them sustaining a relationship with me just as much as I am sustaining that relationship with them is another form of a gift.
Right.
It's another love language, quality time, and intimacy.
Yeah. And
So,
and intimacy is something that we have really in every relationship. I think a lot of times we think of intimacy, a lot of times we think of sex, or we think of like a lover, someone that you're in love with. And I know like a lot of people,
You're my lover.
but you know, I think everybody have intimacy. I've gotten to a point where I can recognize that I have an intimacy, even with like some random person I hook up just for sex, there's a level of intimacy there. I think in the past I would have said, oh, that's not intimate. I don't even know his name, but I can be like, I just, I let him inside of me. So that's like, I don't know how much more intimate that can get, but I think that comes with like feelings and everything else. We're letting people, give their energy to us, whether it's in a friendship or, anything like that. And, that's I don't know, intimacy can have very depth.
I was thinking about that because like even somebody you pass on the street, sometimes nonverbal communication can be intimacy.
Totally.
Like when you look and, and yeah, so it's there. It's there. It's just, you get to kind of embrace it and not run away from it, because I think that it can be scary, getting honest or being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's also interesting to think about, the kind of intimacy that I share with strangers. And it like goes back to me having a relationship and a connection with everyone that I meet, no matter if they're strangers or family or friend,
right,
or buddies, that I still have some level of intimacy with that person. And intimacy is in sex and is in love and is in platonic relationships that I have. And I think it's been helpful for me to realize that it can exist in all those places,
right,
instead of just sex.
Well, I think that happens though with a lot of awareness. Like it comes from being present and probably being sober and, like actually being there with your body, with the people, like really being able to show up to all that's going on with you,
Yeah. And like also as someone who grew up with a single parent and only grew up with my mom, and I think also a stepdad, but like the absence of that, I think where I have found that the relationship that I have with my sponsor has modeled the kind of male relationships that I want to have in my life, because I didn't have that kind of male fatherly role model in my life. And also the women that I've been able to meet in recovery have contributed to that role model of a woman in my life. And like to have those intimacies as well, the intimacy with my actual mom and the intimacies with the female and the male role models in my life and my recovery has been
and
profound.
just knowing that there are more that, like, if you come from a background where people kind of showed you that love and caring for one another wasn't possible, and all of a sudden, like you said, with sponsors or whatever, all of a sudden there are all these people that they want nothing but the best for me. They want me to be happy. They want to love me, and they want me to love myself or whatever. And this that's
And then because of those circumstances, it takes a lot of us some time to actually warm up to it.
Oh God,
right?
yeah.
Because like I've come from an environment
like,
where
what
that
do you
was
want?
Like what do you want? What can I give to you?
Right.
Hey.
Exactly. I know, and yeah, it takes a while to kind of not want to do what we do. Like early on, I was talking about like we come in already having learned behavior.
Yeah.
And there's a process, I guess, of breaking ourselves out of that. Like I'm all like when we were joking, like some early recovery, you have a fellow who says, "Hey, let me take you to coffee so we can hang on." And all of a sudden I'm all, "Is this a date?" He's like, "What's going on? Are we going to hook up?"
And
because that's
girl, we're just getting coffee.
Exactly. Well, it's like when you show up to the door and I'm naked
because we didn't want you to drink.
No, exactly. And
I've had two of those experiences on multiple occasions where someone came to me when I was a newcomer and wanted to like hang out, like, let's go to the pier and go to the arcade. I'm like, sure. And then we're riding on his bike over to his house and then we're naked in his bed. Or like and I think that kind of serves as a barrier for because that reinforces what I knew and what I was learning before I came in. And so I've also learned that the people who did those things and that I accepted those things, like those people did not stay in the rooms.
Yeah. And women have been
They're
really
still sending you messages say, "Let's hook up, girl."
Yeah, women have been a really big part of my ability to I could even be better with men. But yeah, for a long time, my sponsors, they've had to be females, my therapists, all of that, because I would have like my sponsor tried to sleep with me. A lot of my older friends tried to sleep with me. So it was really difficult to feel like I could be in a relationship with someone that I didn't have to exchange sex for at some point,
Yeah. And it takes time to be able to foster those kind of relationships where we learn that is not the case.
In our initial meetings with potential sponsees, I always tell them, I'm not going to sleep with you. This is not that kind of relationship. And a funny story. One of my sponsors, like, it was Halloween and I was in a Uhura outfit with a wig on. And he said the wig was crooked. And you said, I'm not going to sleep with you. And I'm not worried about that. So it's like,
yeah. And it always circles back to the tribe and the community that I have. And I've been so grateful to be able to cultivate those relationships and to have my tribe and my community here. And then being able to move away because of school and
find a new tribe. Yeah.
To extend my tribe, not find a new tribe, but to extend the tribe that I already have, because this is not going anywhere and I can always come back.
No. We're going to let you go.
It's so great. It's so great to move in recovery. I've moved in recovery twice, and it's so great because you have you don't know anybody, but if you go to a meeting, then you start to know people, and then you start to meet the better people to probably be meeting in a new place. So moving in recovery is really great.
And then you're of service and you volunteer, and that's how you meet on Tuesday nights, closing up the Castro Country Club.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's how you and I met.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right on.
Go way back.
Yeah. And that's also been helpful for me too, is to be able to volunteer here at the Castro Country Club and to meet people like Bonnie and to meet other people like Caleb and to meet
Lewis.
I never worked with you though.
No, that's okay. But I was feeling left out.
We have met
people like Joe and Tommy and
Dolce.
And Dolce, exactly.
But because I've been able to work on that shift for a little under 4 years, I've been able to work with a couple people. I mean, granted, I don't work that shift anymore or work or volunteer anymore, but because I did that in the beginning of my recovery and because I brought that over in the next few years, I've been able to meet people on a different level, to meet strangers and to get to know them intimately when we're standing back there while there's a meeting happening and we can't play music and you're just there standing there quiet and, oh, how are you? And where are you from? And how long have you been clean? And all the other stuff to get to know people.
Yeah, it's a great time. They're looking for volunteers.
Yes.
So if you're in the San Francisco area,
if you're in the San Francisco area, please volunteer. It's like it's a wonderful way to kind of get to know not just your specific recovery community, but so many different types. And then also just people who want to be around sober energy.
Mm-hmm. And if you're socially awkward and you have a hard time being in groups, it's really great. I don't know about you, but I do good when I have a role somewhere. It's a lot easier for me to be if I'm behind the counter and I'm supposed to say hello to you and I'm supposed to talk to you then I'm going to do that.
When you have a purpose.
Exactly. But when I'm just showing up on my own, I'm probably going to sit at the table and wait for somebody to say hi to me or come up to me, you know?
You know what, Bonnie, the club is one of those brave spaces that we talk about that, you keep coming in and it allows you to get to a place where you're courageous enough to join in.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a little while in the beginning, believe it or not. It was a really long time before I climbed those steps and actually but once I came in and once I realized, oh yeah, I belong here. This is home.
Yeah. It takes some courage to walk up these stairs and walk through this place and see all these people, especially when it's busy down there at the restaurant. It takes some courage to walk up because people know what this space is.
Or when folks were hanging out on the steps before the pandemic and having a good time laughing and carrying on or whatever, it's oh, I'm not passing that group.
Well, and it's, I've gone to a place where I would say, oh, that's so scary, but it's scary not to.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a lot more scarier not to anymore.
Yeah. It's so much funner to be sitting on the stoop, on the steps.
And you owe it to yourself to kind of push through some of the fear. Mm-hmm. I understand that it's not always an easy thing, but to push through some of it and to trust that we're on the other side, kind of with our hand out, reaching towards you because we know exactly where you've been. Mm-hmm. Right. A little tear just dropped from my eye because that was.
Get it.
We talked
Put
about
it in a jar.
You kind of alluded to service, and that's funny because next week we're going to be joined. One of our favorite people, we're going to be joined talking about service. Mm-hmm. And we'll just leave it at that.
We're not even going to say who.
Yeah, exactly.
You told me I was one of your favorite people. Now you tell me
we say that to all the we say that to all the guests.
Just don't go back and watch the other episodes.
Yeah, I mean you were until we're closing up. So yeah. So now we need a new favorite person.
I know, it's come on.
So if you're my sponsee and you're watching this, then you should probably volunteer here.
Exactly. Right. Hey, do you want to tell people your
how they can connect with you?
Instagram or wherever, how they can connect with you, because he takes amazing pictures, and you might want to be in some. I mean, you have to take your clothes off, but
That's optional.
no, you really. I heard that wasn't the case. No kidding. I'm kidding. But anyway, this is the first time. But my Instagram is LouisLou86 and you can hit me up there. I have some amazing non-artistic pictures. you can get to know. No, you spelled it wrong. It's LOUILOU86 at Gmail. I mean, not Gmail. LOUILOU.
AOL.
That's okay. It's like we'll get that spelling right.
Right. It'll be there.
And mine is at Domia. And if you need some headshots, or you want some photos, or you want to get naked and do some conceptual stuff, be down for that too.
Dominic
Ooh, hey.
does some really great work. Some of
Absolutely.
my favorite photos are of Dominic's.
Thank you.
And what about you, Bonnie?
What about me? As I was saying at the beginning, I have a lot of projects I'm working in for Pride. So if you're interested about drag and spirituality, I'm interviewing local folks about drag and spirituality. And then I'm also doing a series with trans folks to talk about their experience with their transness and spirituality. So that'll be every Monday and Friday in the month of June. So if you go to A Queer Chaplain, that's A Queer Chaplain, on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, you can get connected to all of that. So
She's a mogul. And I just want to remind you that the Castro Country Club is a clean and sober gathering space for all people and a home for the queer recovery community, located in the heart of the Castro district of San Francisco. We endeavor to be a space where all can seek wisdom, serenity, courage, and joy. Find more information at castrocountryclub.org.
tune in every Tuesday at 6 p.m. We will go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
And look for at the CCC wherever you listen to podcasts.
Leave us a voicemail on our Speak Pipe. That's Speak Pipe, like the lead pipe that you used on Colonel Mustard
That's hot.
in the library, right? So the Speak Pipe in the description below.
And email us at podcast@castrocountryclub.org.
Let me try that again. It was leave us a voicemail on our Speak Pipe link in the description below. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's okay. It's like we'll get it together. And don't forget, Dominic, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us.
And most important, share with your friends.
And your enemies, even the people you don't like.
Yes, exactly. See you next week.
People you're in relationships with.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bo.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Tom.
Amazing.
You're still our favorite.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Oh. That's amazing that you're going to start doing those interviews with people.
I'm stoked.
I think I have someone to refer over to you.
You?
to Irish